Shalom, 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 family. Welcome back to the channel where we break down the scriptures with clarity, precepts, and truth. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the family. This is where edification meets defense of the gospel. And if you like content like this, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any lessons, street teachings, rebuttals, or deep dives into the word. We're going to get into the topic of Esau. This is going to be part two, dealing with who Esau is according to the Bible. So let's get into it. All right, family. Shalom, shalom. I am your brother, salvation to Israel. And this is going to be part two when we're dealing with the topic of who is Esau. Esau is not what many believe to be the so-called white man, not according to precepts. And when we take a look and walk through this, we're going to allow the precepts to give us the understanding of who Esau is today. And the challenges that many of us face is there are so many people that will not hear the conclusion of the whole matter. So they lean into their emotions instead of allowing the scriptures to tell us. Okay. So what we'll do is we're going to walk through this. I ask that you listen to this in its entirety. And then if you have paper, pencils, you can take notes and reference this. If you disagree, you have that right. We will not be entertaining any kind of disrespectful comments in the comment section. Please do not come in the comment section being disrespectful. You are entitled to your opinion. However, if there are any comments that are left in a disrespectful tone, your comment will be removed and you will be blocked. So I'm just going to go over some of the details that we're going to discuss tonight. This breakdown proves three sharp points using precepts, okay? And we're going to show those and display those on the screen here shortly. This is not camp traditions, and there's nothing against anyone that is affiliated with the camp. This is not an attack on you all. However, a lot of camps teach these particular doctrines dealing with Esau, okay? So today, what we're going to do is we're going to prove three things today. Mingled and Arab describe mixed people in the Shemitic region, and it's not only referring to Ishmael. Esau literally mingled with Ishmael and Canaan, becoming part of those Arab type people. And thirdly, the fatness of the earth given to Jacob and Esau is about the Abrahamic land and Grant region, not the global European domination. Okay. So what we will see, we pull this up here on the screen. Second. All right, 1 second. Let me pull this up on the screen, family. Okay, here we go. So what we're going to prove today and what we'll see is that Esau, he knew the Most High's laws, but he rejected them. He mixed his seed among dark nations, okay? He received a specific good land, not the whole world, and was repeatedly beaten and conquered by Israel and was not a world conquering empire. So we're going to walk through all of these topics, precept upon precept. First thing we're going to deal with is that he mingled. We're going to deal with mingled, Arab, and mixed people. This is what we're going to look at first. Okay, so I ask that you follow along in your scriptures if you have. have them available to you. And we're going to be dealing with the KJV as well as the Apocryphal books as well. Okay. So we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25. And we're going to deal with verse 24. In this verse, it reads, "And all the kings of Arabia, all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert." This is very important as we read these verses carefully. When we see this word mingled, let's look up that meaning in the Strong's Concordance. Sorry.
Strong's H 6154. Arev. Arev.
Okay, so it says Arab, Arab. Okay, and it has the definition there, and it is H6154, and it carries the sense of mixture, mixed people, a blending. Okay, you can see here at the bottom here, mingled, Arabia, mixed, multitude. Okay, so this matches the concept of Arab. This matches the concept of Arab. Please notate that, which at its root means mixed or mingled. That's what the word means. It means mixed or mingled. Okay. As we read in the definition. Now we're going to turn our attention to the book of Jubilees. I know some people subscribe to it. It is mentioned in the KJV. So let me just pull that information here up on the screen. 1 second. The book of Jubilees. Okay. And we'll be reading chapter 20, verses 12 and 13. In the book of Jubilees, chapter 20, verse 12, it says, "And Ishmael and his sons and the sons of Keturah and their sons went together and dwelt from Paran to the entering in of Babylon in all the land which is towards the east facing the desert. And these mingled with each other, and their name was called Arabs and Ishmaelites." Okay, in this verse, in these verses that we read, we see Babylon is described as east facing the desert. And these mingled with each other, and their name was called Arab and Ishmaelite. So Jubilees tells you clearly these people are mingled. Their name was called Arabs and Ishmaelites. It did not say explicitly when we read throughout the book of Jasher, chapter 90, verse 7 through 9, but Jubilees makes it plain that Arab is a category of mingled people, not only pure Ishmael. Because this is one of the arguments that many people state when you're dealing with other Israelite brothers and sisters. Okay. When you're dealing with Arabs, there are more than one type of Arabs, and these are a part of the mingled people. This is very important as we move forward. Okay. Therefore, Ishmael's seed is not the only Arabs. There are different strands of Arab peoples mixed from multiple lines. Question: did Esau mingle with Ishmael's seed? The answer is yes, and scripture says it directly. When we go to the book of Genesis, chapter 28, and verse 9, Genesis chapter 28 and verse 9. In Genesis chapter 28 and verse 9, it says this: Then went Esau unto Ishmael and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife. Okay. So in this verse, Esau married into Ishmael's line. He took his daughter. Let's stay in the book of Genesis and go to Genesis chapter 36, and we're going to read verses 1 and 2. Through thy precepts, we get understanding. Therefore, we hate every false way. We have to make sure that we're rightly dividing the word of truth. In the book of Genesis, chapter 36, and verse 1, watch what it says carefully. It says, Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Verse 2, Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite. Okay, so in these verses, so Esau mixed his seed among the people. And we know that the Canaans are Hamites. Let me just pull that image up on the screen. 1 second. Yeah. And this is who Esau mingled with. Esau mingled with the Canaanites and the Ishmaelites. Okay. This is what we just read in scripture. This is who Esau mingled with. See, he literally fulfilled what mingled and Arab described. Esau became part of that mixture. So when people say, "Oh, Arab is Ishmael," he became a part of that line. They all were mingled people in the desert. This is very important because people try to limit Ishmael as the only progenitor of the Arabs. So again, just to recap, he literally fulfilled what mingled and Arab described. Esau became a part of that mixed. So the topic that we're discussing is Esau is not the so-called YT man. That's what we're discussing. This is the topic that irritates a lot of children of Israel because they look at the atrocities suffered at the hand of these individuals. And it's not to say that those individuals are not going to be punished for those atrocities, but we have to rightly divide who these people are. Okay. If Esau was the so called white man, he would not have been able to dwell among the children of Israel and all those dark nations without being obviously out of place and written as such. The text instead shows him blending and mingling with surrounding Shemitic and Hamitic people. Okay. Now we're going to get into some of the other details of Esau and who he was. Esau was well aware of the laws of the Most High, and he didn't accept them. He rejected them. Not only did he reject the laws, he rejected the Most High. We're going to go back to the book of Jubilees. Just one moment. We're going to go back to the book of Jubilees. Pull that up on the screen. We're going to go to chapter 20, and we're going to be reading verses 1 to 3. Okay. In the book of Jubilees, chapter 20 and verse 1, and it reads as follows. It says, And in the 42nd Jubilee, in the first year of the 7th week, Abraham called Ishmael and his 12 sons, and Isaac and his 2 sons, and the 6 sons of Keturah and their sons. And he commanded them that they should observe the way of Yahweh, that they should work righteousness and love each his neighbor, and act on this manner amongst all men, that they should each so walk with regard to them as to do just judgment and righteousness on the earth, that they should become circumcised, that they should slakia, that they should circumcise their sons according to the covenant which he had made with them, and not deviate to the right hand or the left of all the paths which Yahweh had commanded us, and that we should keep ourselves from all fornication and uncleanness. So we can clearly see Abraham gathered all of his house, including Esau, and taught them the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So Esau knew and was aware of the covenant, and he was aware and understood the covenant way. This is very important to remember as we continue forward in this breakdown. Okay, get back to my Bible screen here. Now, my question, audience, after we read these verses, did Esau listen to those instructions? No, he didn't. He did not listen to those instructions. Let's see what it says in the book of Jasher. Let me see if I have that. Jasher chapter 28, and we'll read verse 18. And Jasher 28, verse 18 says, at that time, Isaac sent his younger son Jacob to the house of Shem and Eber, and he learned the instructions of the Most High. And Jacob remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years, and Esau his brother did not go, for he was not willing to go, and he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. So this rebellion is connected to Esau's being the end of the world, okay? And we'll get into that discussion as we move forward, that we read about in the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6 and verse 9. You get that on the screen here. 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, and we'll read verse 9. We had this discussion on our TikTok Friday, and it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So many people read this and interpret Esau as being a world power. They don't add precepts, they give their own interpretation, and then they associate the descendants of Esau, which are actually the Japhites. Those are the people that are putting us in the conditions that we're in because that's what the scriptures prophesy. Those are the so-called YT men, not Esau, Edom. So when we read this verse, many people will say, oh, I guess we have to go into another captivity. There was no prophecy ever stated that we will be in captivity to Esau. There's no prophecy anywhere. No prophecy in scripture that states that. When we go back to the book of Jubilees, let me see if I have this. Hold on one second. In the book of Jubilees, okay, I'll just pull the verse here on the screen. Jubilees, we're going to go to chapter 35, and we're going to read verse 14. And it says, and now my heart is troubled because of all his deeds, and neither he nor his seed is to be saved. For they are those who will be destroyed from the earth and who will be rooted out from under heaven. For he has forsaken Yahweh, the Almighty, of Abraham, and gone after wives and after their uncleanness and after their error, he and his children. Okay. So in this verse, in Jubilees 35 and 14, the people must align with prophecy. Esau's life choices match rejection and mingling, not global righteousness or European whiteness. Okay. So now what we're going to move into is we're going to go into the discussion of Jacob's blessing and Esau's portion. And shalom to everyone that is coming in. I apologize for not greeting you earlier. I see you in the comments. Shalom to you all. In the book of Genesis, that's where we're going to go to. The book of Genesis, we're going to go to chapter 27 and read verse 25. Genesis chapter 27, verse 25. In this verse, it says, and he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. So this is dealing with Jacob's blessing and Esau's portion. So this is what Jacob did for Isaac after he prepared the food and put it on, and he began to put on the goat hair. Okay. Verse 28 to 29. It says, therefore, the Most High give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Okay. Plenty of corn and wine. This is the blessing that Isaac gave to Jacob. Verse 29 says, let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Now, family, this is what I want you to pay attention to. This is the blessing Isaac gave to Jacob. Look at these verses carefully, because this is where a lot of disconnect comes in when you're dealing with other Israelites on this topic matter. They're so emotionally attached to being taught that Esau is the so-called white man that they fail to put their eyes clearly on these verses. It says, this is the blessing Isaac gave to Jacob. Okay, these are his blessings. You can read about him being smelled, and this is Isaac saying, come near me and kiss me, my son. Okay, this is after Jacob put on the goat hair. Look at these verses carefully. Therefore, the Most High give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Now, in verse 29, it tells us explicitly, he says, let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. And cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Jacob is set over his brothers. Let your mother's sons bow down to you. There's no prophecy that Jacob would bow down to Esau or be in servitude to Esau. That's not prophecy. The scriptures clearly tells us that the older shall serve the younger. This already cuts that doctrine in half. There's no verse that says that Esau would be ruling over the children of Israel. Let's continue. In Genesis chapter 27, 38 to 39, watch this. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. Okay. So Esau also receives a word about the fatness of the earth, right? And he goes on to say, and Esau said unto his father, and Esau lifted up his voice and wept, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. So both Jacob and Esau connected to the fatness of the earth. But we must ask this one question. What earth is this? What land did Abraham actually receive to pass down? See, Abraham received a specific land to pass down to his seed. And we read about that in the book of Genesis chapter 15 and verse 18. So it's not talking about the entire world, the entire earth. Genesis chapter 15 and verse 18. Through thy precepts we get understanding. It says, in the same day, the Most High made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Now, I want you to keep this in mind because I'm going to show you an image. I'm going to show you an image. Now, I want you to just put your eyes on this verse here carefully. He says he's going to give a specific land territory unto Abram's seed. Okay. Okay. 1 second. Now, on the screen, you'll see this land territory that was given to Abram, right? From the river Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. That's what we just read, right? The river Egypt to that great river Euphrates. This is the land that was promised to Abraham and his seed. All we have to do is just apply the precepts. And the dangers of deviating from that method is leading a lot of people down a false way. It's telling us the information in the scriptures. So the Most High made a covenant with Abraham to give these lands to his seed, from the river Egypt to the river Euphrates. In this, you see Saudi Arabia and the Arabian region sit right in the middle of this giant land belt. You see that here. You see the territories. Israel is up here. This is their land. These are the surrounding kingdoms. You got Edom down here. You got Ammon and the Ammonites, Moab. All of them are surrounding the lands of Egypt. Salakia, the lands of Canaan, where the children of Israel dwell. Okay. 1 second. Let me get back to verse screen. So we're going to continue in the book of Genesis, and we're going to go to Genesis chapter 17 and verse 1. Genesis 17 and verse 1. It says, when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Most High appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the almighty power. Walk before me and be thou perfect. So the Most High appears to Abram, okay, as the Almighty, and he's establishing his covenant with Abram. Verse 4, it says, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Verse 8 to 9, and I will give unto thee, watch this, I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art called a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their most high power. Right? Verse 9 says, and the Most High said to Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. So we just showed you on the map what the Most High gave to Abraham. Did he give him the whole world? No. He gave him a specific landmass, a specific territory that was considered the fatness of the earth. Let's continue. So the Most High promised Abraham and his seed all the lands of Canaan. This is what this says, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. These are the things that have been passed down to Isaac, and Isaac split it with his seed, and he gave all he had to Jacob. Okay? You'll see this as we go forward. The Most High promised Abraham and his seed all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and commands them to keep his covenant. That was the condition. Okay? In Genesis chapter 17, we're going to jump down to verse 20 and read to 21. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. So Ishmael is made a great nation, but the covenant is established with Isaac. So he's not able to get any parts of those lands through that covenant. So Ishmael was made a great nation, but the covenant said that the covenant will be, the Most High said the covenant will be with Isaac. So when Ishmael and the other sons received their portion, it was still within the greater land body the Most High gave to Abraham. That's where you see all those surrounding territories at. Okay. Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 5 and 6. Okay. And Abraham, Salakia, gave all that he had unto Isaac. Did Abraham have the whole earth? No. Abraham had all the territories, land of Canaan, that the Most High gave to him. And he gave all that he had unto Isaac. Verse 6, but unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son while he yet lived, eastward unto the east country. So Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but unto the other sons of the concubines, Abraham gave them gifts and sent them away. He sent them away eastward. Eastward. Remember what we just read about Babylon and the mingle people in the desert? They were eastward. So how do you think the other sons felt? How would the other sons feel about this? Jealousy. This jealousy sets the stage for Psalms 83. All those people that are confederate against the children of Israel, right? This sets the stage for that, where neighboring nations conspire against Israel. They were sent eastward toward the regions like Iran and beyond, Saudi Arabia, beyond. They surrounded the lands that were given to the 12 tribes, to Israel, okay? Abraham land grant is the base. Isaac inherits it. Portions of this land goes to Jacob and Esau. The fatness of the earth is within this specific region. It's not talking about the entire globe. This goes into the Most High regathering us and placing us in our own land. He's not going to place us all in, he's going to gather us from around the world, all the children that were dispersed, and place them in their own lands. Does this mean that they're going to be dispersed all around the world and controlling? No, they're going to be controlling from that specific land territory where the Most High dwells. Okay? So the fatness of the earth equals regional blessing, not global domination. That's what that means. So people, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters, are teaching global domination, misinterpreting scripture, not applying precepts. They deviate from precepts, and then they'll give you comparisons. Who else turns red this? Or who else eat their meat? They're deviating from precepts to give sense while confusing those who are listening. Okay, so the fatness of the earth equal regional blessing, not global dominion. When we go back to Genesis chapter 27, let's go to Genesis 27. We'll read 25 to 29. Gotta love precepts, family. Genesis chapter 27, verse 25 says, and he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. Right? Come near now and kiss me, my son. This is Jacob's blessing. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field, which the Most High have blessed. Verse 28, therefore the Most High give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Okay? Jacob receives the fatness of the earth with the Abrahamic grant and authority over his brothers. That's plain. Okay? We're going to stay in Genesis 27 and verse 38 to 40. And watch this. Now we see that he had authority over the brethren. So in verse 38, it says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. Stop. It says, does it say, serve thy brother? You see, when we read that in verse, I'm sorry, I didn't read verse 40. I apologize. And by the sword shall thy live, and shalt serve thy brother. Serve thy brother, right? If Esau was a world power, the children of Israel would be serving him. This goes completely against prophecy. This verse alone says that Esau would be serving his brother. However, people teach that the children of Israel are serving Esau and they're in captivity to Esau. The Bible doesn't say that. And by the sword shall thy live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Esau also received the fatness in his dwelling, but not the covenant promises, nor the full corn and wine that belonged chiefly to Jacob. So the earth cannot mean the whole world in totality, because the entire world was not deeded to Isaac. Only what the Most High gave Abraham was passed to Isaac. Everybody else in the world were given their own territories after their language, after their families, in their nations. Those were the lands that the Most High divided after Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The lands were given to Abraham, and those lands were given to Isaac. And they were then divided amongst Isaac's children. Esau got his fatness portion from what belonged in that covenant zone, and Jacob got his. Okay? So now we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and we'll read 49 to 51. Deuteronomy chapter 28. We're going to read verses 49 to 51. There are people that are completely cutting off relationships with other brothers behind these topics, and sisters, because they don't want to hear the correction of the word. Deuteronomy 28:49 says, the Most High shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, right? Which also shall not leave thee corn, either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thine kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he hath destroyed thee. In these verses, we see something specific. It speaks of a fierce nation from afar eating the corn, wine, the flock, the oil, etc. of Israel. This is not Esau's role as a covenant heir, but a later invaded power. If this is Esau, that means this goes completely against the prophecy of Jacob having the corn and wine, because now Esau would have absorbed the corn and wine illegally. The prophecy doesn't say that. Esau got the fatness of the earth, but he didn't get the corn and wine. Jacob got that. So this nation that was from afar is not Esau, Edom. How do we know? Because in verse 49, it says, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. They spoke the same language. Jacob and Esau spoke the same language. They lived in the same territories. They are all Shemitic. Okay? Let's jump down to verse 64. In verse 64, it says this, and the Most High shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. It says, the Most High shall scatter thee among all people. It doesn't say the Most High is going to scatter thee among Esau, Edom. Among all people, all nations of people. And in those areas that we're scattered to, we will serve other gods in these foreign lands. In the book of Genesis, chapter 9 and verse 26. Got to call out your witnesses, that the Most High be true and every man a liar. In the book of Genesis, chapter 9 and verse 26, it says, and he said, blessed be the Most High power of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So the Most High is the Most High of Shem. So these other gods that the children of Israel were serving was not the Most High of Shem. So this couldn't be the same. It says, neither thou nor thy fathers have known. So these were other nations outside of Shem, Ham and Japheth. Esau knew the Most High because the Most High is the Most High of Shem. Esau is Shemitic. Japheth isn't. Ham is not Shemitic. Blessed be the Most High power of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Right? And we're going to deal with fatness. That's 49:34. Okay? Let's deal with that word fatness. They'll say, this is all the best places of the earth. Just show us the precept.
Strong's H 4934. Mishol. Mishol.
Okay? In this verse here, let me make sure I got the right one. The fatness of the earth, that term for fatness points to riches, plenty, fertile portions. Is not cosmic rulership. This is not talking about cosmic rulership. Let me see if I typed in the wrong information. Hold on one second. Go back to Genesis. I'm gonna pull it up. Fatness. Yeah. There you go. Fatness, fat piece, fertile place, richly prepared, fertile spots or places, fatness. Okay. This is what this is going to. That's what that definition means. Okay. So Esau's fat land in precepts, we're going to get that. Where's Esau's land according to the precepts? Go to Numbers 20 and 14. And see, sometimes people aren't going to give you time to explain this information, right? They're not going to give you an opportunity to bring out your witnesses because many of them are under that spirit of pride, right? So when we go to the witnesses, Numbers 20 and verse 14. It says, and Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us. So Israel sends messengers to the king of Edom. In verse 17, he requests, he says, let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor to the left until we have passed thy borders. So this is talking about a specific land territory. I'll pull this image up on the screen so you can get a visual. 1 second. So they were asking for permission to pass through the borders of Edom. That's where his land is. That's his portion. Okay. They wanted to travel through Edom to get to the land of Canaan. This is why they said, let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields nor through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the waters of the well. They were asking for permission. They were being respectful. They were traveling down the king's highway, as you can see how the arrows are indicating. So what we see is that Esau had fields, wells, and vineyards. And this shows what the fatness of the earth means. Esau had a good, fertile land, and that was Esau's portion. His blessings within the Abrahamic region. That's where he was. That's where he was given. As you can see, all the names of the other sons that were around about the land that was promised to the children of Israel. Right? So once they asked for permission, let's see what Esau said. Let me pull the other screen back up so we can get to the verse. Okay. See what he says. We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 20, chapter 2, and we're going to read 1 to 5. Deuteronomy chapter 2. We'll read verses 1 to 5. And then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Most High spake unto me. And we compassed Mount Seir many days. This is the land of Esau. And the Most High spake unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn ye northward, and command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore, meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession. So they were not granted permission from the Most High to pass through Esau's land. He's telling, no, that's their land. Don't bother with it. The Most High forbid Israel to even step foot to take Esau's land or to pass through it. That land is Esau's possession, but it's still not the whole earth. It's part of the Abraham belt of lands that was given to him. So again, the fatness of the earth is within that zone, not Esau ruling the whole globe as the so-called white man. Okay? Now we're going to deal with dominion. We're going to deal with the word dominion that we read about in Genesis 27, 38 to 40. I'll pull that back on the screen. Sometimes things just take time to explain. You have to know the truth in order to either accept it or reject it. Genesis chapter 27, verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shall thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So many people read this verse and teach that Esau would rule over the children of Israel as a world dominating empire. But we have to look at what this Hebrew word means. Dominion, H 7300. Let's look at that. right?
Strong's H 7300. Rude. Rude.
Okay, so H7300 carries the idea of shaking loose, relentless, breaking off. Okay, that's what that means. To wander restlessly, roam. Okay, so now when we look at this compared to the dominion that Adam had, when we read in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26, let's see if that's the same type of world dominion that Esau had in that verse. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. And it says, and the Most High said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So in this dominion, it is H7, I think it's 787, 7287, if I'm not mistaken. H72, yes. Let them have dominion.
Strong's H 7287. Radah. Radah.
And this definition of dominion means to rule, to have dominion, dominate, tread down, to have dominion, rule, subjugate, right? To cause to dominate. So the dominion here means to subjugate, rule, tread down. There is no prophecy where Esau is promised this same type of dominion that Adam was given in Genesis 1 and 26. Okay? There was no type of dominion that the children of Esau or Esau had over Israel. If Esau had that kind of power, he would have tried to annihilate Israel completely. Yet in history, Esau is the one getting repeatedly beaten and conquered, not ruling the world. And we'll prove it. Okay? Esau was never a world conquering power. There's no verse in scripture that shows Esau conquered any nation. When you read the precepts, every nation was conquering Esau, laying the wood to him, beat downs, even the children of Israel, right? 2 Samuel chapter 8, verse 11. There's no scripture that says Esau conquered any nation. 2 Samuel chapter 8, we're going to read 11 to 14. It says, which also King David did dedicate unto the Most High with the silver and the gold that he had dedicated of all nations which he subdued, of Syria and of Moab and of the children of Ammon and of the Philistines and of Amalek and of the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zabah. Excuse me. And David got him a name when he returned from smiting of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servant. And the Most High preserved David whithersoever he went. So David put garrisons in Edom, and all they of Edom became David's servants. What are servants? Slaves. Slaves. So when we read carefully, Esau is constantly being subdued. There's no verse that says he's conquering other nations. He's not a world power. 1 Kings. Let's give another witness. 1 Kings 11. And then people will make accusations that you're tripping, but you're giving them precepts. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the word of the Most High. In 1 Kings 11 and 12. Watch this. It says, notwithstanding in thy days, I will not do it for David, thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Because of Solomon's sin, judgment begins, but this opens the way for Edom to slip from under the yoke at that time. It's just for a time, because the children of Israel conquered the children of Edom. So because of what Solomon did, this allows Esau, Edom to escape for a time. All right. Verse 13 to 16. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David, my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen. And the Most High stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom. For it came to pass when David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, was gone up to bury the slain after he had smitten every male in Edom. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Israel until he had cut off every male in Edom. Every male. Joab smote every male in Edom for 6 months. So this proves Esau was nearly wiped out and clearly not a super powerful world ruling race. Okay. Why don't we go and read about these verses? 2 Kings 8. We'll go to read verses 18 to 20. 2 Kings chapter 8, 18 to 20. Esau being conquered. It says, and he walked in the way of the kings of Israel and did as the house of Ahab. For the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Most High. Yet the Most High would not destroy Judah for David, his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light and to his children. In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah and made a king over themselves. So this is when the dominion was broken for its time. But before that, the children of Esau, Edom were under or in servitude to the children of Israel. So Edom revolts under Jehoram. Okay. When we read 21 to 22, it says, so Jehoram went over to Zaire and all the chariots with him, and he rose by night and smote the Edomites, which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots, and the people fled into their tents. Verse 22, yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. So in these verses, they fought against Judah. Edom got some breathing room, but were still local powers. They were not global rulers. That's the point that we're showing and proving with scripture. Esau, Edom was constantly being conquered by nations. They were not conquering nations. And they broke away slightly because of the disobedience that was found under the rulership of Jehoram and Solomon's time. Okay, in 2 Kings chapter 14, we're going to read verses 21 to 22. 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 21 to 22. All right, 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 21. It says, and all the people of Judah took Azariah, which was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father, Amaziah. He built Eliath and restored it to Judah after the king slept with his fathers. So Azariah or Uzziah strengthened and restored territory back to Judah. 2 Chronicles 26 and 1. Look at these witnesses. 2 Chronicles 26 and verse 1. It says, then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father, Amaziah. Okay. So Uzziah is made king and he restores Eloth to Judah. Again, 2 Kings 16 and 6. We're calling all the witnesses. We're just calling a few. 2 Kings 16 and verse 6. Watch this. At the time, Rezin, king of Syria, recovered Eloth to Syria and drave the Jews from Eloth. And the Syrians came to Eloth and dwelt there unto this day. Okay. So Edomites took Eloth, but this is still local border warfare, not world dominance. All right. In Second Chronicles, chapter 21, we'll read verses 5 to 8. It says Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, like as did the house of Ahab, for he had the daughter of Ahab to wife, and he wrought that which was evil in the eyes of the Most High. Albeit the Most High would not destroy the house of David because of the covenant that he made with David, and as he promised to give a light to him and to his sons forever, a light to the Gentiles. That's what this is going into. Verse 8. In his days, the Edomites revolted from under the dominion of Judah and made themselves a king. So again, when we see these verses that we read about in Second Chronicles in verse 21, and now we're going to read down to verse 10. We just read 5 to 8. And in those verses, in Jehoram's days, Edom revolted against Judah. So in verse 9 and 10, it says, Then Jehoram went forth with his princes and all his chariots with him, and he rose up by night and smote the Edomites, which compassed him in, and the captains of the chariots. Again, Edom is being smote and conquered. So the Edomites revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. The same time also did Libnah revolt from under his hand, because he had forsaken the Most High power of his fathers. Okay, so in these verses, Edom revolts, but this is all in the same region. So after Esau revolts against Judah, do they become a world dominating power, as many people are teaching today? No. Scripture says no. Their story is tied to local lands around Israel, not ruling continents, not becoming a world power. That's not what scripture says. When you read Jeremiah chapter 25, go there real quick, Jeremiah chapter 25, and we'll start at verse 8 to 9. It says, Therefore, thus saith the Most High of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Most High, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them and make them an astonishment and a hissing and the perpetual desolations. So the Most High bring Nebuchadnezzar against all these nations round about. The nations judged are the surrounding ones within the Abrahamic belt, from Egypt through Arabia up towards the Euphrates. This is why we showed the map earlier. So the Most High sent King Nebuchadnezzar not only to conquer those lands, but the lands that were round about. And those lands were the lands that the Most High gave to Abraham. The lands round about are all the places where Esau and the other brothers dwelt. Verse 10, it says, Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride and the sound of the millstones and the light of the candle. So he takes away the voice of mirth, music, and light echoing. Revelations 18:22 to 23. Watch this. This is a lot of information, but it has to be discussed. We're in the times now where we're either willfully choosing to be ignorant, or we just don't make time for the truth. We have to rightly divide this truth, man. We're talking about eternal salvation here. Revelations 18:22, it says, And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and of trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all the nations deceived. So, which describes the fall of Babylon with no more music, crafts, or lights? Let's look in the book of Nahum. Nahum chapter 3 and verse 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. This condemns Nineveh's whoredom and witchcraft, another example of regional empires under judgment. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 20. Let me see. I think it's Jeremiah 25. Trying to get through this in a timely manner, family. Jeremiah 25, we'll read 11 to 14. We make time for everything else, but sometimes people feel pressured to try to rush through the truth. We don't want to give time to the truth anymore, but we can listen to a whole bunch of nonsense unstopped 24 hours a day. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 11, it says, and this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith the Most High, for their iniquity and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolations. Verse 13, and I will bring upon that land all my words which I have pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Jeremiah hath prophesied against all the nations. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also, and I will recompense them according to their deeds and according to the works of their own hands. Wow. So in the book of Jeremiah 11 to 14, the nations served Babylon 70 years, and then Babylon itself is judged. So when we jump down to verse 18 to 25, this is what it says. To wit, Jerusalem and the cities of Judah and the kings thereof and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation and astonishment of hissing and a curse, as it is this day. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants and his princes and all his people, and all the mingled people, and all the kings of the land of Uz, and all the kings of the land of the Philistines, Ashkelon and Azah and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all the kings of Tyrus, and all the kings of Zidon, and the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea, Dedan, right? And Tema and Buz, and all that are in the uttermost corners, and all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert, and all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of Medes. In these verses, Jeremiah lists Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, then Egypt, Uz, Philistines, Edom, Moab, Ammon, Tyre, Zidon, Arabia, and the mingled people. So this shows that Edom went under the power of the Babylonians, and they are counted among the regional nations. They are not portrayed as the main global conqueror. Okay. So people teach Edom as a world conquering white empire, but Jeremiah shows that Esau is one of many surrounding nations under Babylon's yoke. So the Bible, geography, and prophecy consistently place Esau in the Abrahamic land belt, mingled with other dark Shemitic and Hamitic peoples with a good land portion, but is never as the global ruler over all nations. And we're going to end right here for now, family. And this is just part 2. Okay. And I want to thank everyone that was able to listen to this in its entirety. And there's much more that is coming, family. I appreciate those who were able to hear the conclusion of the whole matter. I pray that these words fell on good ground and that you would go back and check behind and pray on this information and ask the Most High to confirm the truth and remove the lies. With that, people, I say, Kwam Yasharella, all praises be to the Most High, and prayer and salvation to the children of Israel scattered throughout the four corners of the world. Peace.